All right, guys, what's up? Welcome back. My name is Justin Marc, international dating coach, relationship expert. Now, I'm joined with a very special guest.
Look, my name is Stirling Cooper. If you don't recognize me already, which hopefully you don't, if you do recognize me, then I know why. We all know why. I am an award-winning adult film star. I am also a former high-class male companion back in Australia where that kind of thing is legal. And now when I'm not filming adult movies, I'm on YouTube teaching dudes how to be better in the bedroom, basically.
Yeah, so we've actually come across each other on YouTube and each other's recommended. We did a collaboration on your channel, and now I'm so happy to have you on mine because I feel like you've got such a unique perspective on dating, relationships, even, the fact that you used to be a high-end male companion or that you've worked in the adult entertainment industry. I just think it's really interesting because, you've obviously seen certain things that probably shatter the reality of most guys and probably like kind of almost like it would be like completely reality altering to the average guy, right? And so I feel like you've got a very unique perspective on dating, relationships, and I know you coach masculinity and sexual mastery. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. I try to kind of reinstill, I guess, masculinity through guys taking more control in the bedroom in a way. I use it as like a conduit.
Amazing. So before we jump into things, where can people find you if they want to learn more about you?
Easiest place to find me is just to go to stirlingcooper.com. Stirling is spelled STIRLING. Stirlingcooper.com. Then you can find the links to all my stuff, my YouTube, my Twitter, my Instagram, and my various courses. That's the easiest place to find my stuff.
Stirlingcooper.com. Awesome. And yeah, man. So tell me, first of all, how did you get into it? Like, just out of curiosity, even for like, how did you get into, being an award-winning porn star? Like, how did this happen?
So this is a kind of a long-winded story. I'll give you do you want me to give you the short version or long version, Justin?
Yeah, we've got time. Let's hear it.
Look, let's go to long version because this is kind of how I where my interest in your side of the dating marketplace comes into play. Because I used to be a total geek, was terrible with the ladies, and so when I had my first typical story, right? I had a first ever girlfriend, long-term relationship, and then she broke my heart. Yeah. And then I Googled how to talk to chicks. I Googled how to meet women, that kind of stuff. Got into the whole PUA thing, started learning that stuff, started watching dudes on the internet. And then I developed some skills. And then oddly enough, I applied that stuff to the swinging scene back in Australia.
That's amazing.
And in Australia, we had this website. It's probably still around. It was called redhotpie.com.au. Okay. And that was kind of like a dating site, but purely for the swingers scene. Okay. And so what I did was I thought, I'll take all these PUA principles and I'll apply them in this kind of area where no one else is using them. And I was able to stand out from the crowd of other thirsty dudes. And I started getting invited to parties. I started meeting some single girls in the swinging scene, and then they invited me to a bunch of parties, got to meet a bunch of people. And in the swinging scene, a lot of the girls also work as escorts. It's just sort of, their time off, they're in the swinging scene, and then during the day, they're doing escorting stuff. And over the course of a year or two, I had a bunch of different women tell me, hey, you should try escorting. You'd be really good at it. And after hearing enough times, I thought, what the hell? I'll throw an advertisement up on some forums in Australia, and I got some work. And so I thought, this is pretty fun gig if I can get it. So I did that for a few years, and Australia's got a really, really small kind of sex worker adult community. So basically, all the people who work in pornography in Australia also work as escorts. So I started meeting girls who did porn, and I thought to myself, I was like, look, I've always wanted to try pornography. So I thought, well, why the hell not? I had the connection, so I reached out to a few directors. And oddly enough, I actually got together with this couple that I used to swing with, right? Me and the dude used to double team his wife occasionally. And I rented a hotel room, I rented a camera, and then I filmed us having fun for an evening. And I took that footage and I cut it up and I put it into a Dropbox folder. Wow. And I cold pitched a few directors in Melbourne.
Oh my God.
And they got back to me like, this was the most professional application we have ever received. We'll give you a shot. And so I got my foot in the door, did a great job my first scene, and kind of leveraged that to get more work and so on and so forth. And then eventually I ended up in England, worked for Brazzers, worked for Fake Taxi. Then I got flown out to Eastern Europe, to Budapest, by the same company, shot out there for ages, got to work for the great Rocco Siffredi. Was out in Europe for like 6 months. Then I eventually made my way to Los Angeles, the mecca of the adult film industry, and I've now shot for every big major company on the face of the earth, and I've worked with all the top tier talent, all the famous girls that you guys would be familiar with. I've basically shot with all of them, and now I'm here in Miami, Florida, enjoying life as well.
It's incredible, man. So you pretty much you pretty much had like zero to hero story. You went from like geek, nerd, awkward dude to literally traveling the world, doing porn, meeting the top hottest porn stars, which essentially are the hottest girls that every guy jerks off to. And, being part of those networks and those circles and getting to hook up with them and getting paid for it.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane.
Basically. Yeah, it was. I'm not complaining. I got nothing to complain about, Justin.
You definitely have nothing to complain about, man. It sounds like absolutely crushing it there. And, it sounds like a lot of fun as well. So what would you say are like the biggest lessons in terms of like dating advice and lessons and, kind of takeaways you actually learned from working in the industry? What are some things that you actually learned from that?
Well, look, I kind of learned this before I got in the industry. It kind of allowed me to get into the industry in the first place. But the main thing I used was the idea that women are a lot more sexual than most guys think.
For sure.
Like, women are really, really sexual. And again, like I said, I used to be a dork. I used to be like really like ignorant of this kind of stuff. And then I started exploring my own sexuality, in invoking fantasies and living out my fantasies and stuff. And then eventually getting into the adult industry. You see this sort of the darker side of female nature, this dark, perverted, sexual, their fantasies and these sort of things. You start to see, women are a lot more perverted and dark than most dudes think. And you said this at the beginning, like I've probably had experiences that would blow dudes' minds. And that's definitely the case. Like,
can you share some, or is that too private? I'm just out of curiosity.
I mean, look, it's like a really basic start is you'd be shocked, like the number of women who have, I don't want to use certain words on your channel to get you banned or anything, but let's I think most people can assume what I'm about to say here. The number of women who have a grape fantasy, for example, or like a group gangbang kind of fantasy along those lines, would surprise you.
Okay.
I
understand.
Even civilian girls, we call people outside of the industry civilians. That's just a weird phrase we use. Civilian girls and adult industry girls as well. Like this idea of kind of losing control in a sexual scenario is very, very powerful for women. Like I've shot for kink.com quite a bit, which is like a BDSM focused adult site.
Okay.
So I've got quite a bit of experience under my belt, with rope, with floggers, with like all these sort of extreme fetishy toys and things. And they have to be like the number one most requested website for girls to work for. Like even girls in my industry who've basically done everything up to a point, they really want, once they've done all that stuff, they really, really, really want to shoot for kink.com and get tied up and flogged and beaten and all sorts of things. So,
but obviously, there's respect and consent that comes with it. Like it's paid work oftentimes, right? And it sounds like it's just like the subconscious, non-societal conditioned, like brain kind of like working where, what do you think it is? Is it like instinctual? Like, do you feel like a lot of girls just like have these where do you think these fantasies come from? Like, think about it, 50 Shades of Grey, or there's this new movie on Netflix called 365 Days, where a lot of these, like the whole concept and pretense of 365 Days is a movie where an Italian mobster kidnaps a girl he has a crush on, and he pretty much forces her to fall in love with him. And it's obviously a chick flick. It's a great movie for a kind of Netflix and chill Tinder date, right? And where do you think this comes from? Like, where does it come from?
It's definitely primal, man. It's it comes from like our evolutionary history.
Yeah.
This idea of the way I like to sort of encapsulate this idea is when you're dominant in the bedroom and when you're sort of heavy-handed, shall we say, right?
Okay.
You know, spanking, choking, slapping, flogging, whatever it might be. All of these things, they demonstrate that you're a man who has the capacity for violence. And if you're a man who has the capacity for violence, then you have the ability to defend her and protect her and keep her safe. It's this weird kind of paradoxical thing where by demonstrating that you can control and dominate her in the bedroom, that you're actually more likely to be able to protect her. So it really hits right at the back of the hindbrain, I think.
Kind of confusing there. So it might be a little bit confusing for a lot of guys who are watching this content right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
especially if you've never been exposed to that idea before.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of guys who will have no idea what we're talking about here. And so we want to make it like, I want everyone to understand that like you always need to make sure the girl's comfortable. And I mean, I've definitely run in similar circles, and a lot of these circles, which is taught is that you know there has to be incredibly high amounts of communication between you and the woman you're with, because if not, you know, you can end up in a really awkward situation, a really negative, I don't know, like a legal case or something like that. But so there needs to be like a lot of like communication and trust, you know, even before considering, you know, kind of initiating this type of relationship dynamic sexually in the bedroom.
Absolutely, man. And to give you an example, like on set, when we do this professionally, we're sitting down for a good 5-10 minutes. Like for a start, we do like a big checklist of paperwork, making sure everyone, like writing down our do's and don'ts, both the guy and the girl. We'll sit down and we'll write down like what we're okay with and comfortable with, what we're not okay with. And then we'll, as a group, like not just the performers, but the director, the camera guy, the assistants, everyone will sit down together and we'll go over these lists and we'll do it and we'll be recorded while we're talking about it. So we're sort of covering all the bases and making sure that everybody is comfortable every step of the way. And there's always like checks and balances. So we have safe words. So, you know, you don't have to break character on camera to tell your film partner to slow down or to stop entirely or to keep going, right? So we've got these sort of code words we can throw in so that the camera can keep rolling. And everybody knows that at any point they can call stop, they can call cut, and everything's going to be safe and everything's going to be fine. You know, so that adds a whole another layer of like safety and trust
for sure
on top. And that's why we as professionals can do the more extreme stuff.
Definitely. Because
we have these sort of safety measures in place and we make sure everyone's comfortable and anyone can stop at any point. In a personal relationship, that's like we're going from like 0 to 100 like on the first time we're interacting with a woman professionally. In a real life context, that kind of trust is developed over a long period of time with somebody. You're not gonna meet a girl at a bar, take her home, and then like hang her from the ceiling. You know, well, most guys aren't gonna do that. So that trust takes time, right? And like you said, yeah, you need to understand how to communicate that with your partner, how to understand where her boundaries are. And a lot of that is verbal, and there's another chunk of that is reading body language, understanding, because some women can be a bit self-conscious about communicating this stuff. And they could be a bit self-conscious about they don't want to like hurt a guy's ego or turn him off, or you know, even the idea of like saying no to a guy for a lot of women is kind of uncomfortable because they're not really assertive, right? They want the guy to lead. They don't necessarily want to be assertive about their own boundaries to a degree. So as a guy, you got to be even more aware of that dynamic and be constantly on the lookout for, okay, is she comfortable with where we are right now? Yeah. Am I pushing her too far? Where am I along this sort of spectrum of like, she's cool with this or she's not cool with this, and constantly adjusting and looking and checking in with her body language. That's something I'm very, very, I like to drill into guys a lot, is to be aware of.
So yeah, you definitely got to be careful of, you know, how you're making the girl feel. I feel like a lot of guys will watch your content. They think that you can instantly apply it and be this crazy, overly masculine guy. And don't get me wrong, you can, but you know, there's all these like intricacies that come with actually learning this stuff. And so you got to always make sure women feel comfortable and safe. Like one reason girls naturally feel safe, we talked about this before in the video we did on your channel, right? I'm a fight. So by the way, I don't weigh 106 pounds anymore. I weigh like 110. I've been actually working out. I got back in the gym. I've been taking weight gainer. We're making slow progress. Hopefully I'll be like 130 by Christmas, right? Slowly putting on weight, but I'm a small little Indian dude, right? I have like this past weekend, I hooked up with 3 different women, and without even trying or really thinking about it, kind of just happens from the lifestyle, because I constantly have women around me, because I'm always showing, great emotions, sharing good energy, having crazy events. Well, my roommate has an airplane this weekend. We're going to go flying just for fun. We're just going to go flying just for the shits. My buddy has a boat. So we do like yacht parties, right? I live in a $2 million penthouse downtown overlooking the city. We've got club access. Clubs are opening up. So I have the setup for, making girls want to come to these cool events, booze, parties, great music, great network of cool people are coming, girls and guys. A lot of my friends are like kind of like influencers or like YouTubers. One of my friends, Nikki, she's visiting this weekend. She's a Netflix actress on a show called Jeannie in Georgia, right? And so it's like I have like that status kind of lifestyle that girls would want to hang around. But then when they hang around me, there's no like pressure, not making them feel uncomfortable. They feel safe every single moment, right? And so like a lot of guys don't realize that you got to make the girls feel comfortable and safe, especially when you're like doing stuff such as like BDSM and bondage. And what's so funny? Right before our call, I actually just ordered a bunch of sex toys. I ordered a vibrator. I ordered like a whip, like spanker kind of thing. I just bought a bunch of like bondage ropes. Like, it's so funny. Just like, I know we were going to be talking about this. We didn't really plan what we're talking about here, but it's actually so fucking funny, Stirling, that, we're talking about this when I just ordered like $100 worth of like random, like, bedroom paraphernalia. You know what I'm saying?
Good bet. You have a lot of fun with that stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm seeing this girl that I know from years ago, and she's like a girl I used to date years ago, and we kind of got back in touch. We started hanging out again, and she loves this stuff, right? And she's already comfortable with me, even though we only hung out twice this past week. She's already comfortable with me because we've known each other for years. We knew each other years ago, right? And so we had a lot of like that, automatic comfort. So the moment I saw her, I started tying her up. I started using sex toys on her, but respectfully and consensually, and she loved it. And she's hooked, right? She wants to come back for more, because you got to realize when you're doing stuff like that, as long as there's consent and respect there, you're automatically differentiating yourself from your experience sexually in the bedroom from any other guy at all whatsoever. Most guys don't have those, skills or abilities. Most guys don't have that experience to back it up, right? Most guys are too scared in the bedroom and they're kind of nervous. And it makes the girls feel like that they're the ones who have to be in control, when in fact, generally speaking, usually most of the time, the female typically wants the male to be in control in the bedroom, typically, right?
Yep. There's 2 things I'll say into that. And that is, you mentioned a lot of guys are sort of nervous in the bedroom, and they're really nervous when it comes to doing the kind of things you're talking about, like leading or playing around with new toys, experiencing new experiences. And one of the things I teach guys is that it's your job to sort of go there first emotionally. Like, you have to, she's going to feel what you feel. So if you're uncomfortable and nervous, it's going to make her feel even more uncomfortable and nervous, because she's thinking in her head, this guy ain't got a clue what he's doing. I'm in trouble. I might get hurt. He doesn't even know how to do this properly. So you have to be the guy who's comfortable and confident in executing various sort of sex acts or using various toys, so that she can feel comfortable and confident in letting you lead her through that experience. And the second thing I'll say there is, if you can give a woman a sexual experience she's never had before, and it doesn't even have to be that crazy. Most guys are very average in the bedroom. Most guys aren't as crazy and experienced and as dynamic as you might think. So even something as simple as, learning to tie her hands together, something as simple as that.
Very simple as well. Very simple.
Very you could learn how to do that in 5 minutes. Yeah. Very simple to do, but most women have never had that done to them. I think it's something like 70% of women have reported that that BDSM, bondage is a fantasy of theirs that they would like to have lived out. That's a large chunk of the female population and they've never had it done.
Most of them have not. They never experienced it, right?
Yeah. 5 minutes.
Like,
5 minutes.
I'll ask a girl what her body count is, and like, for example, this girl I'm seeing, she's probably been like 20 to 30 guys, right? And at 23 years old, that's a reasonable number, I guess, right? And I'm asking her, I'm like, oh, so have you ever been tied up? And she's saying, no. Like, oh, okay, cool. Have you ever used a sex toy like vibrators? No. I'm like shocked. It's like out of all those dudes who had hooked up with her, whether it's a one-night stand, a dude she's dating, a boyfriend, or whatever it is, right? She's telling me that none of these guys decided to, respectfully initiate, a bondage experience or use sex toys or, you like spank her or just do something that's a little bit playful. So when you can actually initiate that in the bedroom setting, it does something to her mentally as well. That just is so like psychologically addictive because you automatically stand out from every other fucking loser that she's been hooking up with, pretty much.
It shoots you to the top of her like sexual experience totem pole.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't even matter if you're like, maybe you don't lay pipe the best out of all the guys she's been with. Maybe you don't have the biggest schlong that she's ever had, but you do this one thing that is unique and different and makes you stand out, and boom, that shoots you up above every other dude. And that's, like you said, that gets her hooked to you, gets her addicted to you, gets her obsessed with you, gets her wanting to come back again and again and again. Absolutely. And that's what guys want.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's all about the experience, right? It's like when I'm on a date, I'm always thinking, how can I make this a better experience? Or almost like, it's even weirder. It's like, I will literally I act like a little kid. I just act like insane. Like I just like act like I'm fucking insane. The girls will say to me like, you're insane. But I already know that they're feeling so many different emotions. They're, going through this it's like an emotional roller coaster. Mm-hmm. Literally, when I tell girls we're going to hang out, they ask me, what are we going to do? I said, we're going to go on a magical, emotional adventure, right? That's my go-to line. Like, we could do anything and it doesn't fucking matter, right? We can go, like, I can literally take them on my roommate's airplane and go flying, right? But I never even do that. Like, they'll just come over, we'll have drinks or whatever. Like, we just hang out, right? Regardless of what we fucking do, whether it's a yacht party or a nightclub thing, or like, I walk in the park, maybe we'll go run errands. Like, I literally take them grocery shopping, right? But the emotions they're fucking feeling, right, are just so intense because of everything I'm saying, the words I'm saying. I'll start like kind of roasting them in a playful way. I might even start making like extremely offensive jokes. I'll start making jokes, like obviously just humor here. This is just humor for anyone watching. This is humor, but I'll literally start making jokes about getting them pregnant and then like donating the children to, I don't know, an orphanage or something, or like selling the children's organs to, Chinese people or something like that. Like just whatever the fuck it is, right? Like super, like a little bit racist, a little bit like controversial, and like a little bit like fucked up, right? But then the girls are just like, well, who the fuck is this guy? Because think about this. You're hanging out with a hot girl. I assume you're not hanging out with average girls or ugly girls or whatever. I'm not talking about you, Sterling. I'm talking about the audience watching. I'm assuming the guys who are trying to go on dates don't want to hang out with average girls, right? Well, that means you're probably hanging out with hot girls. And if you're hanging out with hot girls and you're just saying whatever the fuck is on your mind, no matter how inappropriate, rude, offensive, or like, just ridiculous it is, right? You're automatically differentiating yourself from every other fucking guy. I was hanging out with this girl the other day. Her name's Melas Heaven. Okay. She's like a OnlyFans chick and she's like 100,000 Instagram followers and all this stuff. And she's showing me her DMs. And there's like literally a guy who, instead of messaging her and saying like, hey, what's up? He's just sending her photos of like watches and money and like all this shit. And he's saying, if you hang out with me, I'll give you all this. Right. And so like you're differentiating yourself from those guys just by saying where the fuck's on your mind, being a bit ridiculous and just being like all fucked up and crazy and just saying what you want to fucking say, no matter how ridiculous, rude, maybe again, like don't like humor here, maybe even racist, just like fucked up shit that you could fucking say, right? And I'm not telling you to go like say offensive things and hurt people's feelings, but like just saying whatever the fuck's on your mind, as long as it's coming from humor and it's a fucking joke and she knows that you're joking, but she can see that you don't give a fuck. In her head, you're so outcome dependent. You're so outcome independent. You give zero fucks about what her reaction is. You're just trying to make yourself laugh. She can feel that off you, and that's incredibly fucking attractive. And that allows her to have a way better experience because now you're taking through good emotions, right? And I assume, you're good in the bedroom. By the time you're done watching this video, you're probably going to be learning a little bit about this stuff. If anyone wants to check out the book, The Sex God Method, it is an incredible book that will teach you just the basics about, bedroom mastery. And it's actually funny because I remember reading this book, The Sex God Method, by Dana Rose. And it was super funny because I read this book and I thought it was a little bit too vanilla. I was like, I kind of like, this book's a little bit too tame, right? And so, I highly recommend The Sex God Method by Dana Rose. Because like for the average guy, this is going to be like cutting edge material that's going to allow you to respectfully have better bedroom experiences.
We talk about taking girls on that emotional roller coaster, right? That's kind of my approach when it comes to the bedroom. And you don't have to go, to that extreme end of like BDSM or whatever, although that is in and of itself a real emotional roller coaster, because in her mind she's thinking like, am I in danger? Is this guy's safe? This guy's taking control. This guy's leading. What's he going to do next? I don't know what's going to happen. But then you can also throw, like, for guys who aren't at that end, they want to be a bit more sort of vanilla, a bit more tame. Just things as simple as eye contact. Something as simple as strong, dominant, unflinching eye contact during sex is really emotionally spiking. Something as simple as whispering stuff in her ear. Even if you're not fantastic at dirty talk, the act of, rather than saying it to her face, whispering it in her ear is even more powerful and emotionally impactful. So there's all these different things you can layer in during sex, which, like you said, create this sort of emotional roller coaster. Because you're talking about doing it on the date, and I teach guys to try and do it during the act of sex once they bring the girl home, because that is also that's how you keep her hooked, keep her coming back. Because what's that old phrase? You can be anything to a woman except boring, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why being edgy, being self-amusing to an extreme edgy end is so good, because who the hell does that? Like, regular guys don't do that.
They don't.
Right? Makes you stand out instantly.
Definitely. It differentiates you from like all the other guys. And it's so crazy because like your date might not even go that well. Your experience with her might be like she might just think you're a cool dude and like she's just horny and down to hook up or whatever. Well, guess what? Now, because you're incredible in the bedroom, she automatically thinks you're a way cooler guy than you are. You know what I'm saying? She automatically thinks like, holy fuck, this guy's like, you might not have the best game. You might not have the best charisma, social skills, or anything, right? Well, it doesn't matter, because now she is hooked on you sexually. Yeah. She's going to want to come back for more. And that alone, because like, think about how many, hormones and brain chemicals and all that stuff comes up from, intimacy and sexual experiences, right? And so, especially with women, they're feeling oxytocin and serotonin and dopamine, all these things from you. And while you're fucking her doggy style, and you're whispering things in her ear like, oh my God, you fucking turn me on, or telling her like how attractive you think she is. Or maybe you're at a party and you can whisper in her ear, honestly, I'm so glad I'm fucking you right now because you're the hottest girl at the entire party, right? Just saying these little things, just sprinkling in her ear while you're hooking up with her. It just like differentiates you from any other guy, because every other guy is just, pumping, and that's it, right?
And you think about like once you kind of you've brought a girl home, you've seduced a girl, you've got a chance in the bedroom, right? Bringing back that idea of like her DMs, man. I've seen some of the DMs of my co-stars, and they are insane. And you think about just the average hot girl is getting like flooded inbox full of DMs, full of proposals. Like you said, dudes offering to fly them out on yachts, fly them out to Dubai, take them on a trip, buy them handbags, whatever it is, right? So you got to, in the back of your mind, you kind of got to be aware that she's always getting these kind of offers from dudes who might, maybe they're like minor celebrities, maybe they're blue check marks, maybe they're a YouTube channel, they're a rapper, they're an NBA player, whatever the hell. If she's a really good-looking woman, she's going to be getting these kind of offers regularly, right? Sure. So this is the average guy's leg up. If you get a chance to sleep with her, this is your chance to like destroy their game. Yep. Because it doesn't matter if she's addicted to your penis, she ain't even looking at her DMs. You just salted all of their game. They can be the richest guy in the world. They can be the most, they can be an NBA player, whatever. If she's addicted to you in the bedroom, she isn't even responding to those guys anymore. And that is, most guys don't realize that. They don't realize the power that you have on that, those first one or two sexual interactions with a woman, your ability to really get her addicted to you. Most guys sort of overlook that. And they're a bit, they're a bit excited. They're like, oh, yay, a woman is touching my pee-pee. You kind of like, I'm a bit of a competitive guy, so I kind of look at, sex as like a chance to like differentiate myself from the pack, stand out, like we were saying before.
Definitely.
And I think that's something guys really, really, they kind of overlook. They're a bit too excited just to to have a woman touch their pee-pee for a change.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? It's like a lot of these guys are in so much scarcity that even if they get laid, they kind of just fuck up the experience of the girl for the girl. And so now then the girl just feels used and she just doesn't enjoy it fully. And she's probably not gonna be less likely to see him again because she can feel that neediness or like that kind of like a lot of times, like a lot of girls will regret hooking up with these dudes because again, the guy's just so fucking thirsty. Right. And that could have been solved just by, focusing on making the experience for the girl. Like my general bedroom rule is I don't come until the girl does. I try not to come until the fucking girl does. Sex isn't even about me. It's not even for me. It's an experience for the woman I'm with. Right. And so as long as she's having that's like my general philosophy. As long as she's having a great fucking time, we can go on and see each other and then cool. Later on, it could be about me. Right. But, especially on like the first time you're hooking up, the first time you're intimate together, it's fully about her, if she's covered with it, I'll bust out the sex toys, the vibrators, whatever it is. And, try to make it an amazing experience for her. So she constantly comes back for more. And then, because she's enjoying it, she'll be like more aroused and more into it, which will make it an even better experience for you in the end anyway.
Yeah. Being a guy who gets off on getting her off is basically a superpower.
It's awesome. Yeah.
If you have that mentality, if you program yourself that way, that you get enjoyment from her really enjoying herself, that bam, you've set yourself apart from most dudes, because most dudes are either vanilla and tame and boring in bed, or they're super nervous and they're coming too quickly, or they're like super selfish and they're coming too quickly. So it's a combination of one of three things. All it takes is a little bit of effort to separate yourself that much. And look, I get guys coming to me all the time for things like performance anxiety problems where they can't get it up, whatever. I get guys coming to me with, premature ejaculation problems, and we sort that out. I get older dudes coming to me with erectile dysfunction problems, and we sort that out. There's for basically every single problem that a dude could have in the bedroom. And this is something that most people don't realize with adult performers like myself, right? We have to, rise to the occasion under the most stressful circumstances known to the male genitalia. You've got a room full of dudes whose paychecks depend upon you getting an erection. And you have to, if you don't do it, no one's getting paid. So it's super, super high stress, super, super, pressured. So we know how to get around things like performance anxiety, how to get around things like premature ejaculation, because it's our job to get around this stuff. Newsflash, I've experienced performance anxiety because I've been working in adult entertainment industry for 8 odd years, and occasionally things have been very high pressure. So I've had to deconstruct it and learn how to get over it so I can go to work the next day and perform. So I think one of the biggest mistakes a lot of dudes make is they get in their head straight away. They sit up here in their thoughts, right? And that causes dudes to develop this kind of performance anxiety, and where they can't get a boner, they can't get an erection, right? And what we just talked about, this idea of being a guy who gets off on getting her off, think about where your mental focus is between those two different scenarios, right? If you're anxious and worried about performing and in your head thinking, oh, I really hope I don't ejaculate too soon, or I really hope she likes me and she wants to see me again, you're up here and you're focusing on yourself, right? If you change your focus to her, if you change your attention to being this beautiful, gorgeous woman who's in front of you and wanting to please her and make sure she has a good time, magically, your junk starts working.
Yeah,
because you're not in here. You're present and in the moment.
Exactly.
It's basically meditative. It's meditation in a way. And it's something that a lot of male porn stars have in common, is that they do either meditation or yoga or some kind of meditative act, or something that gets you present in the moment, because you have to be able to get out of your head to eliminate performance anxiety. And these
I think a lot of people don't even realize that performance anxiety and erectile dysfunction, it's very psychological. right? And so, a lot of times it's like, you think it's you, but is it really even you? It's just like you're nervous. And so because you're nervous, you're ejaculating too fast or you're ejaculating too slow, right? Yeah. And it just becomes this awkward situation simply for the fact, like, it doesn't have to be the awkward situation, but it's literally just because you're in your head and you're thinking too much.
Yeah. And there's another thing, unfortunately, in these days, younger guys tend to have problems primarily due to overconsumption of pornography. And this is ironic coming from a dude who works in the adult film industry, me saying this, but honestly, guys, if you have any problems whatsoever in the bedroom at all, the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is to stop watching porn. That's the first thing I will tell every dude. If you have even the tiniest problems, cut that out straight away. That's the first thing I'll cut out, because it does a bunch of stuff, unfortunately. Like it screws around with like your novelty responses in your brain. It screws around with your dopamine receptors. If you're watching it constantly, it can plummet your sex drive. It can plummet your testosterone.
It can do a lot, actually.
It can do a lot of really bad stuff.
It's really crazy because, so me personally, a lot of people, I don't really talk about this too much, but I haven't masturbated since March 2016. If I can get the date right, I want to say it was March 8th, 2016. So it's been over 5 years, right? In that time, I probably hooked up with over 250 women, right? I made millions of dollars and I'm only 25 years old. It blows my fucking mind. And before I quit jerking off, I used to masturbate between 2 to 8 times per day, which is fucking ridiculous. Every day for about, I want to say like 8 years, 9 years, right? And so it's actually insane how much you can fucking achieve when you quit masturbation, learn about like no FAP and like, PMO and all that stuff, and like getting rid of these horrible habits in porn. And a bigger issue is a lot of guys, and I actually never had this issue with porn, but a lot of guys, get so addicted to fucking porn that they'll be with the hottest fuck girl. And because the girl doesn't look like the girls in porn, because the girls in porn are wearing makeup, there's like camera, there's lighting, there's all these fucking things, right? Yeah. The same way you're using a light up setup right now, I'm using a lighting setup, and it looks just really clean and clear and professional, all that stuff. You have like a really, what are you using to shoot? Like a Sony A7S III or something like that?
A6400.
Okay. And so, I'm actually using my MacBook, right? But we still have like the, quality setup. And so you see it on screen and it looks so much fucking better versus a lot of guys see me in person. They're like, oh, you're like a short Indian dude, right? I thought you'd be taller. Whenever guys meet me, they're always like, oh, I thought you'd be taller, right? And so it's interesting how this works, right? The same way when you're watching porn versus you might be hanging out with a gorgeous girl, but because you're so addicted to fucking porn, you're unable to actually be present in that experience and actually enjoy it, which is so fucking crazy, right? So quit porn, quit masturbation, your results will fucking explode more than you can even imagine. And you're gonna have like killer success. And
it's the novelty aspect of it too. Like when dudes jerk off to porn, there's like, they've got like a bunch of different tabs open. They're watching a bunch of different stuff. There's a bunch of different women. There's all this novelty of different women, like one beautiful woman in front of you in the real world is never going to be as novel as a dozen different tabs of pornography. It's just never going to be as novel. So cutting that stuff out resets your brain's like novelty response factor. Yeah. And so then you can get back in touch with how you're supposed to be responding to a beautiful woman in front of you, which is an erection.
It's crazy. And a lot of guys don't realize if you just cut out porn, you get your erection back. You probably can stop premature ejaculation as well. You'll start dating more women. Like even the fact that you quit masturbation, you'll probably just end up like organically just dating more women and sleeping with more women just because now you have more, first of all, the free time that you put into like watching porn. Like I don't know how much time the average guy watches porn, but like it could be hours per week, right? It could be dozens of hours per week even. And so imagine you spent all that time going out practicing cold approach pickup. Imagine you spent all that time, learning about online dating. I have a course called Online Seduction, online-seduction.com, right? Link in the description. And it's crazy. Like imagine all that time people spent, learning or watching porn. If they spent learning about Tinder, about cold approach, about social dynamics, watching videos like this, feeding their brain, becoming better in this area of your life, and actually like developing relationships with women, maybe having a girlfriend, maybe, meeting girls. It used to be so bad for me back in the day. My first girlfriend, this is before I started really taking games seriously. I'd only ever been around, like I'd hooked up like 12 girls or some shit. I had a girlfriend. She was ugly. And, she would come over, right? I was in my parents' I was literally in my mom's basement. She'd come over. I would pretend to fall asleep so we didn't have to have sex because I didn't want to have sex with her. I would pretend to fall asleep. Okay. And when I was sleeping, she would leave. I'd hear her leave. I'd wake up, watch lesbian squirt porn, jerk off, and then fucking go play video games, right? And I recognize it as a problem. And I realized, okay, I need to quit this. I need to quit masturbation, porn. My bigger issue was like masturbation, not even necessarily porn. And, you know, apply that free time to my dating life. And it's almost like, so in a lot of religions, and like Buddhism and Hinduism, they talk about, you know, sexual transmutation and reusing your sexual energy for other areas of your life. And so I figured instead of like just jerking off, I can use that energy for dating, right? Or even now, I'm at a point now where I try to have sex with girls and I try not to even ejaculate. Okay. Or I'll try to spend time with girls and I'll try to remain celibate in that interaction, even if they want to have sex with me. And I will like, I actually fell asleep with a girl a couple weeks ago. She's a really close friend of mine and she's kind of like in love with me. And like, we're just friends. To her, like she like wants to date me or whatever. And I told her that night, like, I don't want to hook up. We didn't hook up and it was awesome. The next day I did about $15,000 in sales, in business revenue, right? Because what I like to do is I like to reuse that sexual energy for business or for, you know, just having higher energy levels, right? And so when a lot of people say, oh, Justin's such a high energy guy, a lot of people watch my content and they see the energy levels really high. A lot of it's just because I don't jerk off, right?
It's crazy how much, like how big of a difference it can make. And it's something I want to give, a bit of hope I want to give guys. Like if there's any dudes watching who, you know, maybe have a problem with pornography, who maybe are masturbating excessively, look at it this way. That's an indicator that you have massive potential. It's an indicator that you have a big sex drive. You have all this, because you're expending all this energy all the time. So if you cut that out, you're gonna like skyrocket your results in all areas of your life. You just channel that energy and channel that focus into something else. Channel it into the gym. Channel it into like learning a martial art. Channel it into, like you said, cold approach pickup or learning online dating or whatever it is. If you don't jerk off, you don't masturbate, and you're like, if you've gone from masturbating a lot to not masturbating, I guarantee you're going to start like randomly talking to women in your everyday life, like in the shopping mall as you walk down the street. You can't help it because your body, your biology wants you to procreate. So eventually you're going to overcome your nerves and your shyness and your anxiety, and you're going to start talking to women because otherwise you're going to explode.
It almost seems like it just happened organically, but it's literally because like, if you actually think about it, it's kind of almost evolutionary that this, you know, that you just end up with talking to a girl, right? It just makes sense that would happen.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think we've talked a lot about masculinity and dating and, you know, sexual energy and a lot of really cool industry secrets here. I think that's what we'll title this video, like industry secrets from adult film star, adult entertainer, because, you know, Stirling, like the amount of like inner secrets you probably have are so fucking ridiculous. Well, if you had to leave like the audience with one piece of advice today, what do you say that is? All
right, I'll give you guys a couple of things. I feel like there's a lot I could have talked about today. I've barely scratched the surface of what I know. So I feel like I'm leaving you guys, you know, a little bit short on information. I'll give you guys some practical bits of advice, and then I'll give you some insights into like the industry, because that way you guys kind of leave with a bit of a rounded result. So for dudes who might have a problem with, say, premature ejaculation, who are coming too soon, right? This is a pretty common problem for a lot of dudes who get excited. It's a piece of advice I took from one of my mentors. He's a director who used to shoot me a lot back in LA. He used to be a performer himself back in Europe. He gave me this trick. He was like, one of the things you can do is you can start to engage your logical mind. If you feel like you're losing control and you're a bit too excited, you start to engage your logical mind. And one of the ways he used to do this during sex scenes is he would start to count the tiles on the roof, or he would count like the window frames on all the windows, or he'd count the blinds on the windowsill. Anything in the room that he could count, just for, not for the entire duration of having sex, but just long enough to take his mind away from the sensations downstairs and regain control so he can get back into the swing of things and enjoy himself again. So that was the first thing he taught me. The second thing he taught me was about breath control. And you mentioned, you know, various religions and Buddhism, and I'm sure you've mentioned before you do yoga, I think. Is that right, Justin? You've done some yoga
I've done a little bit of yoga, but no, I don't. I do meditation. So something called
meditation,
which is really powerful.
Breath control was a really important thing in terms of like preventing premature ejaculation. Is one of the things that I discovered early on in my career was what guys can every guy watching this, right? Next time you orgasm, pay attention to how you're breathing. So everybody, you'll breathe a certain way when you approach climax. So I know, for example, that I hold my breath when I'm approaching climax and when I'm about to orgasm. Some dudes breathe heavier, some dudes breathe faster, some dudes breathe deeper, whatever it is. The way you breathe is, pay attention to how you breathe when you're climaxing. And then if you are in the middle of sex and you find you're losing control and you might be approaching climax too early or earlier than you want to, deliberately change the way you're breathing. And if you change the way you're breathing, the opposite of how you normally breathe when you're approaching climax, you can start to take away that sensation and regain control. It's a really, really simple little biohack that every dude can do, but most of us don't really have the sort of whereabouts in the consciousness to sort of pay attention to that during the act of sex. But now you do, so you can go about doing that. And I'll leave you guys with like a little bit of an insight into the adult film industry before we go. Everyone thinks that, you know, the porn industry is all like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and that kind of stuff. It's like one big party. I'm here to tell you that unfortunately that is not the case. Like, my job is a lot more like clinical and professional than you might think. There's no drugs on set, there's no alcohol on set, there's no music on set because we can't pay the copyrights for music, and we can't have music in like in a scene or anything like that. It's really like methodical, and there's a ton of paperwork involved. And like I said before, like consent and going over do's and don'ts, and a ton of time is like spent on the dialogue and the setup prior to the actual sex scene. So I might be on set for like 8 hours shooting a scene, and 6 of those hours are going to be the lead up, like the dialogue and like makeup, paperwork, going over like the scene, and then shooting dialogue. And then the last like hour and a half is like the photographs and the actual sex scene itself. So next time you're watching a porno and you skip through the dialogue, I want you to remember that you're breaking my heart, because that's where I spend all of my time and effort focusing on.
Poor guy. You skip right over it, and your hard work and effort, you literally flew across the world, and you know, you're the peak of your acting skills, and they skip over those dialogue.
And that's what I was nominated for Best Actor this year. So look, if anyone sees my stuff, know that I'm a decent actor. So it's worth watching.
That's great. Well, it seems like we've learned a lot here today. And it just seems incredible because, you know, Stirling, I'm very grateful that you came here today on the channel to, you know, share your wisdom, your experiential knowledge of, you know, how this stuff works, the industry, and all these like tips, tricks, and habits you can implement in your life to just live a better life. But on top of that, you know, just like seeing things for what they really are, and, you know, how great, like, because I mean, I've seen it, but I've seen it from my own experience of, you know, traveling to 50 countries and meeting girls and everywhere and realizing, holy shit, a lot of these girls are just so much crazier than what society makes women out to be, right? Mm-hmm. And you've seen it from like working behind the scenes in swingers events and, you know, fucking doing porn essentially, right? It's pretty crazy, right? And it's great that we can come together and share this with our audience here, or anyone who's stumbled upon this video, and they can actually realize that, look, you can actually change your life. You can get better at sex, and you can actually use these sexual skills to fucking control a girl's emotions essentially and make her obsessive with you. You like literally giving a girl a good sexual experience, just getting good at sex, getting good at being that guy who's good at sex. You can give girls the most amazing sexual experiences, and they will literally fall in love with you just because of that. You might have a shit personality. Talking, you might be like talking to a wall. It might just be horrible. But then like, because you give her good orgasms, or you make her squirt, or, you know, you can make her, you know, have a clitoral orgasm that her ex-boyfriend couldn't give her, she automatically is going to see you as a higher status guy and want to spend more time with you. So guys, thanks so much for watching. And, you know, Stirling, where can we find you?
Easiest place to find me is stirlingcooper.com. That's where you can find my links to my YouTube channel, my Twitter, my Instagram, and my various books and video courses. If you're on YouTube right now, just type in Stirling Cooper and you'll find my YouTube channel. I have a ton of free videos up there giving you guys advice on a variety of different topics involving the bedroom, from performance anxiety to different sex positions to how to eat pussy properly to all tons of stuff. And if there's one last thing I want guys to kind of go take away from this video is like the same way that, you know, social skills and learning to talk to girls is a learnable skill, sex is also a totally learnable skill that anybody can pick up. Like, I wasn't born with the ability to lay pipe like I do. I had to learn that through my life, through various experiences. Awesome. Right. So if I can do it, friggin' anyone can do it. So
do you have any products or courses where you teach guys about how to, you know, have better sex and get laid and, you know, just be better at sex?
Absolutely. I do. I have a bunch of stuff. I have a book on overcoming performance anxiety. I have a book on a bunch of different porn industry secrets, learning how from various things to improving the testosterone, getting longer, stronger lasting erections, avoiding premature ejaculation, a few different sex tips. And then I have an entire 5.5 hour long video course where I break down a variety of different sexual techniques with real, actual live sexual demonstrations with me talking over like it's me doing it with actresses and then me talking and narrating over the top of it, breaking down every little thing I'm doing. So I can baby step a guy from being like really, really tame and vanilla in the bedroom. And I take them all the way through to the point where they would be comfortable getting into kind of a BDSM dom sub relationship. So that's
crazy. And a lot of this stuff is very controversial. A lot of this stuff is so crazy. And I assume that you can find most of these products on your website. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. So go to sterlingcooper.com. I'm sure you can get, you know, your products and, you know, learn how to, you know, just crush it in your sex life. Like as important as like learning dating and social skills, learning how to have sex and learning to be good at it in a consensual, respectful way where the girls feel safe and want to come back for more is such a fucking important skill. And I think a lot of guys who learn dating, they don't actually learn how to, you know, make it an amazing experience for the women as well. And so a lot of times, you know, they'll get laid here and there, but the girls never stay around. Well, if you can, like, you know, follow some of Stirling's advice on, you know, your free content on YouTube, maybe buy some of your products, your book, your courses, stuff like that as well. I'm sure, you know, a lot of these guys who are watching this content can learn how to keep these girls around in their lives as well, because they're so, you know, they become a lot better at sex. So Stirling, thank you so much for, you know, coming on the show today and chatting with us and, you know, sharing your expertise and your wisdom. And yeah, if anyone wants to check out Stirling Cooper, go on YouTube, find him there, go to his website, sterlingcooper.com. And I think you also have Instagram, right? Your Instagram's Cooper Stirling.
Correct.
Awesome. So thanks again, man. It's been a pleasure. And guys, my name is Justin Marc, international dating coach, relationship expert. If you guys like this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, click the bell notification so you're notified of new videos. And go ahead and follow me on Instagram as well, Drunk Justin 2. We'll see you guys in a new video very soon. Peace out.